Hi, we're Quint and Curious Volumes. My name is James. Her name is Louise. So, yesterday, Sunday, I posted a video where I talked about a trip I made to my favorite local used bookstore, Piedmont Books and More in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, USA. And I said I got a bunch of books because they're going out of business, and so they're discounting everything. The price is already great, so I got a lot of bargains. And I said, no one wants to hear a book haul from me. And there was overwhelming feedback. Yes, James, give us a book haul. The people demand it. Well, I'm nothing if not a man of the people, and so I'm going to give you a book haul. A book haul, for those who are new, is where a person on BookTube shows a bunch of books that they recently acquired and maybe says something about them. Anyway, I'm going to start with, I have a little stack of mass market paperbacks, starting with Thornton Wilder's Our Town, classic American play in 3 acts, set in New Hampshire. I've seen a really good production of it on YouTube with Hal Holbrook as the stage manager. Really good. Then I have Decline and Fall by Evelyn Waugh. I've read Brideshead Revisited and Handful of Dust. Really, really good. So I'm looking forward to reading Decline and Fall. Then I have 2 Penguin Graham Greene novels, The Power and the Glory, and Travels with My Aunt. So one set in, I think, Mexico, and one involving an eccentric older relative who smokes weed. And then I have a copy of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. That was owned by a Bowman. You can tell from the writing on here. Never read Little Women, and it's one of those classics. I said, I ought to get around to this one of these days. Now I have a copy. Okay, that's all my mass market paperbacks, so I'll put these down here. And I will show you some of the trade paperbacks that I have, starting with a couple of Penguin classics. Saul Bellows' novella, Seize the Day. Apollonius of Rhodes' Voyage of the Argo, a story of Jason and the Argonauts. Wilkie Collins' The Woman in White. Never read a Wilkie Collins. I got a couple of them on this book haul. Are they both here? Let's see. Yes, and The Moonstone. Got them both. Bargain. Anyway, so I have them both to look forward to. Maybe I'll read one and say, not for me. Get rid of the other. Maybe I'll become a Wilkie Collins fan. Then I have The Importance of Being Earnest and Other Plays by Oscar Wilde. I've always kind of admired him as a historical character. I read the Picture of Dorian Gray, but never read any of his plays, nor seen them performed. So that'll be fun. Then Alfred Tennyson's major poetical works in this Oxford World Classics edition. Big chunky thing. Handsome devil on the cover. Look at that guy. Alfred Tennyson wrote Ulysses and a poem about Arthur. A lot of poems about Arthur. Hiawatha. Was that? No, that was not Tennyson. That was Longfellow, Hiawatha. Anyway, I guess I'll find out what he actually did write. Some Arthurian poems, I know. And Charge of the Light Brigade. Charlotte Guy is in here. Okay. That's fine. Everything's fine. So I'm going to get a small pile of hardcover books and show those to you. Oh boy. Books blocking the camera? I know. Very professional operation here. So I got 2 volumes of Lord Byron's poetry, matching set. One of them is Don Juan and Other Satirical Poems, with a drawing of, is that Byron? Yes, a sketch of Byron there, with his walking stick. And Childe Harold's Pilgrimage and Other Romantic Poems, with sort of more familiar looking profile picture of the dashing rogue George Gordon Lord Byron. These are from the Odyssey Press of New York. When I first picked them up, the covers had kind of a weird tacky feel to them, but it's, I think from being handled, they're getting a little better. So I was thinking I might have to wrap it in plastic or something to read them, but these will be good. This is kind of a curiosity, but it's a copy, an illustrated copy of the Arabian Nights. That's pretty old, and no doubt is kind of probably bowdlerized for children. It has all kinds of illustrations throughout, some of them in color, some little spot illustrations. So this, I haven't ever actually read a collection of the Arabian Nights. Surely this is a small subset of them with the most popular stories, but it looked like something that would be fun to leaf through, maybe read a story here or there. Now we have a Library of America, Willa Cather. This is not the novels, but it's stories, poems, and other writings. So I really like the poems of Willa Cather, the novels of Willa Cather's that I've read, which is most of the big ones, the ones that people know I've read. But she certainly has written a lot, and this has Alexander's Bridge, Youth and the Bright Medusa, My Mortal Enemy, Obscure Destinies, The Old Beauty and Others, etc., etc. And some uncollected reviews and essays. How about that? I know she was a magazine editor for a long time, so a very productive writer, Willa Cather. And this would probably be good to sort of browse through and read a story or an essay here or there. And I have Mark Twain's The Innocents Abroad. I started reading this a long time ago. I was probably a teenager. And I was like, this is a great book. And then I think it was probably too long for my attention span at the time. And I got distracted and never finished it. I believe that The Innocents Abroad was his best-selling work during the course of his lifetime. So that'll be a good one. I have this very nice Everyman's Library copy of Love in the Time of Cholera. I really like the Everyman's Library collections. I've read Marquez's other big one, The 100 Years of Solitude, so I was glad to find a nice copy of this. And so I'll put that on my pile. Okay, here's something appropriate to this month when everyone is doing, well, they call it Home is Where the Heart Is. I'm calling it Homes for the Holidays because that's what I called in my video by mistake. So I'm going to stick with it. Homes for the Holidays here in February, the month of, Valentine's Day, President's Day, etc., all the big ones. Groundhog Day. The Sherlock Holmes Companion. So this has biographies of the major characters. It has just synopsises of all the stories. A lot of illustrations from the original newspaper printings of them, of the stories. And I have this chunky thing, which is from the Heritage Press. It is Gargantua and Pantagruel, Heritage Press, illustrated throughout. I know it's an old French novel about giants. It's supposed to be somewhat ribald, so, let's glad to pick this up for a bargain. It's a beautiful book. And I'm not going to show that picture. Anyway. Yes. So, Gargantua et Pantagruel. Although, I guess we would translate that as Gargantua and Pantagruel. They say to gloss is to deceive. I haven't left. I'm just getting some more books. Yes, I know. I got a lot of books. It's book 2. It's okay. I'm almost done. I promise. I'm almost done. So, hi. Back again. Here's a few more Penguin classics. I'll just put them all my Penguin classics together. No. That one's on the bottom. All right. Sorry. This is a stupidly long book haul. Ralph Waldo Emerson's Nature and Other Poems. I've read most of these when I was in college. And they're certainly good reading. Not really that influential on my way of life, I don't think. But, they're good to read with, good to think about. Then I have another playwright whom I've never read, the French playwright Molière, The Misanthrope and Other Plays, a new selection. So this has Tartuffe in it also, and The Doctor Despite Himself, and a few others. So there you go. Then I have these selected poems of Robert Burns, great poet of Scotland. I, of course, know My Love is Like a Red Rose, and the one about the mouse in the field. Don't know a lot of other Burns poems, so there you go, a whole book of them. There is more Graham Greene in this pile. Brighton Rock. I think this is something of a crime novel set in London, maybe? Anyway, pontificating about books I haven't read. Well, this next one, never seen this before. I don't know what to make of it. It's colossally long. It's The Lives of the Poets. I've never heard of this. Has anyone heard of this? It's a 1,000-page history of English poetry. From Piers Plowman to the postmodernists. Michael Schmidt's enthusiasm brings alive the work of more than 250 poets. This could be terrible. This could just be a real slog, but, gotta hand it to him. He's got guts, and he sure did keep at it for a while. So maybe I'll take a look at that. Let me know if I'm really curious about this one. Next I have the novel John Gardner's Grendel. The sort of alternative telling of Beowulf. I'm a big fan of Beowulf. So, and people have always talked about how great Grendel is. So now I have a copy. I can give it a read. I have a few more Oxford World Classics. I'm getting to the end, I promise. I have On the Nature of the Universe by Lucretius. It doesn't leave much more outside of that. Once you understand that, what else is there? So this, $250. What a bargain to know the nature of the universe, right? What would you pay? I'd pay $250. Then I have a copy of Boswell's Life of Johnson, Oxford World Classics. I have another hardcover copy of that somewhere around here, but this has notes, which you probably need for something this old, I think. Anyway, yeah. And it has the now famous meme picture of Samuel Johnson looking at a newspaper in disbelief. Coming into the home stretch, here's another Oxford World Classics. Samuel Johnson's, not Clarissa, but Pamela, his shorter work, also named after a different young lady. Don't know much about it. I know Richardson is one of those guys, and this is one of those books. So it was one of those purchases. As was this, Philip Pullman's The Golden Compass. modern young adult fantasy novel that people say is really good. I had a copy of this a long time ago and never read it. But now I've got one with an HBO thing on it, so I've got that. That's good. I said earlier that I wanted to read more fantasy this year. So far, I've read 0 fantasy books, so that's not going great. But it's not for lack of me going out and buying stuff. Here is Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles, the golden compass of the late Romantic or late Victorian era. I've got that. Have I ever read a Hardy? I've read a lot of his poetry, which is really good, but never read one of his novels. They are said to be quite, well, you know what they say about Thomas Hardy novels. I don't need to tell you. I have the complete stories of Franz Kafka. This is a nice thing to find. I have read a few of these, and they are quite bracing and imaginative and good to read. Then I have the complete short stories of Ambrose Bierce, American Civil War veteran. Wrote a lot about the South, about the war experience. The only thing I know from him is Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. Is that what it's called? Yeah. So, and that's a real corker of a story, as Mark would say. So I look forward to seeing what else he does. If it's up to that standard, it's probably pretty good. And this is the last one. The Devil on the Cross by, it just says Ngugi. I know I'm not pronouncing it right. I usually see it written Ngugi wa Thiong'o. He also wrote The Wizard and the Crow. This is a Kenyan novelist. Almost every year he's considered to be in the running for the Nobel Prize. I'm like, are they going to give it to Ngugi this year? I don't know if that's what they say, because I don't know if that's how they say his name. Yeah, so I was glad to find a copy of this book so I can read it, because I think I've said before I like to read the Nobel Prize winners when I find copies of them. I stack them up, and then eventually I read them, or I show them to people on the internet, and you know, they tell me, I don't bother reading that. Don't you have cable? No. Anyway, that's what I got at Piedmont Books and More in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I hope you've enjoyed it. I came home, my wife said, what'd you get, 30 books? I said, maybe 20. And it turns out it was actually more like 30, maybe more than 30. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know if you like any, well, you don't have to tell me everything, but let me know in particular. Are you familiar with this? Lives of the Poets by Michael Schmidt. Anyway, how's your week going? What are you reading? Got any good book hauls in? All right. Should I ever do this again? It was fun for me, I guess. Let's see. Here's my little dog again. She's positioned her head on my knee, and she's looking up at me like a good girl. Okay. Well, have a good day, everybody. Bye.